So hello and welcome to the 7th VDK Community meeting. And my name is Agita and I'm the community manager of Versatile Data Kit. And yeah, let's do a little round of introduction. And then our agenda today is a little intro into the VDK project, and I'm gonna maybe quickly show how to get started with it. And then we will go to release, the latest release by Tony will explain. And then we will talk about the hackathon and what we did at the hackathon that we, I think a couple of weeks ago, joined. And then Mounchill will demonstrate a feature that allows skipping the remaining steps of the data job execution. And then I will talk a little bit about the latest articles that we have published, because I think just really recently we published 2 of them, and they might be useful. So yeah, let's start with maybe Mounchill. Maybe you can say a couple of words about yourself.
All right. Hi, folks. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a software developer. I've been working on the VDK project for more than a year and a half already. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Tony?
Yeah, hi, I'm Antonio. Yeah, I'm software developer at VMware and a lead maintainer of the Versatile Data Kit project.
Okay, Stanislav?
Hi, I'm Stanislav. So basically, I'm also a contributor to the VDK product, and yeah, together with the folks, we are. So basically, I'm manager of the team that is more or less responsible for the for supporting the open source product. And my role is kind of organizational, and from time to time, I also contribute to the repo.
Dako?
Hi, I'm Dako and I'm a manager at VMware. I'm responsible for the internal deployment of VDK inside the company, which is part of our analytics platform.
Okay, thank you. And Paul?
I'm Paul. I'm also a developer maintainer on the open source VDK project, and I'm only here 2 months.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Let me see if you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just start with a quick overview of the repository. So the project is the repository is a Versatile Data Kit under GitHub, and Versatile Data Kit is a project, an open source framework that enables anyone with basic SQL and Python knowledge to build their own data pipelines, and it consists of 2 components: a CLI or software development kit that provides all tools for the automation of the whole ETL or ELT process, like extraction, transformation, and loading, and the control service that allows to create, deploy, and manage, execute, and manage data jobs in Kubernetes. And this time I decided to, instead of doing the usual kind of example, I decided to show maybe a little bit of how to get started with VDK. The command to install it is here in our repository. So pip install quick start VDK, and after that is done, you can run just a VDK command that shows everything that is possible to do with the command line. And in order to create a job, you just run VDK create. and specify the job name and the job team and the path where it is. And the example job kind of is created from here. I can see that I have my job. And the steps of the job are at the moment one SQL step and one Python step. And actually it can be SQL or Python or both. And if we check the steps at the moment, they're kind of simple. It's just a hello world job. The first step is just creating a hello world table. And the second step is adding hello world to this table. So the destination table is the this hello world. And in order to run this job, I just find this run command. So VDK run. And here I can see that both steps have been run successfully. And this means that I can check my table, which is the command to execute a SQLite query. In this case is VDK. And it is requiring an option -q. So and here I can write any SQL statement like select all from hello world. And I can see that hello world is there. And additionally, kind of this is a very simple way to get started and to create the first job and see how it's running. And then already you can start testing some examples. We have several examples here in the repository in the example page, and any of them can be tried out, and like ingestion from a CSV file or a REST API example or database and so on. So yeah, that's shortly about how to get started with VDK. And now I'm going to give word to Tony with the release.
Okay. So we do sort of like release announcements every month around just before the community meetings. And I did this morning release 0.8. In this release, major feature which are included is a new plugin which was developed by Miroslav, which would enable anybody who installs it to audit and even limit some user operations. This is part of some security hardening initiative that we do. These operations can be, all kinds of Python operations from standard library, from third-party libraries, or from Python runtime. As a quick example, the plugin also provides new configuration options. Once the plugin is installed, the hook can be enabled by specifying audit hook enabled equal to true. Then one can specify a forbidden events list. For example, in this example, we are forbidding data job to execute a remove X attribute, or as rename, to remove directory, or to scan the directory. And we can decide if we want this to be whether the job should exit immediately upon hitting such an event, or we just need to get notified. In this case, I specified equal to true. If it's paused, only the forbidden event will be locked in the logs. There are much more details in the VDK audit plugin page about the plugin. Another probably major feature, important feature, is until now VDK control service had to work only with Python, with data jobs, which are running Python 3.7 in the cloud. This was due to, but this was recently fixed again by Miroslav. So now the control service is able to correctly detect when running jobs, which is the Python version, and how to run them. So it can work with any Python version. And lastly, we have a new contribution from a new contributor, Buyana Baeva. She introduced a new template, SQL template implementation in Power plugin, which enables users to simply append data to a target database based on a view. And similar to our other SQL modeling templates, it inherits the same schema validation, table refresh, statistical compute, and so on behind the scenes, so that the users can just insert data and the template take care of this. You can see what are the latest versions as of this release. Technically, each component is released independently as soon as it's submitted in main and all the test pass. So that's why it's more of a release milestone and announcement. And you can see full list of all the contribution in the last month in the what's change guide. So this was my release announcement and quick summary. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the next topic in the agenda is the hackathon. So yeah, tell us also, Tony. I think you are going to demo.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna even share the slides we created for the hackathon. If I click the correct share button. We know what VDK is. Gita told us just now, so I can skip this. So the idea for the hackathon is to create a special plugin for Versatile Data Kit called VDK Meta Jobs, which basically would add to the jobs interface a new method, which will enable users to basically execute on other deploy data jobs. This will enable them to create basically something like a graph or a directly cyclic graph maybe of jobs which can be scheduled one after another. You can see in the example, one can create similar thing where first job 1 is executed, then all the 3 jobs are executed in parallel, and only if job 3 finishes, job 5 and 6 are started. This is necessary because currently data jobs can be triggered through an API, but you cannot define dependency between them. So if you have one job, for example, in ingest data, another job that has to transform it, you have to either bundle them both in the same job, as in the same process, and create some uber big jobs, or you have to create some kind of awkward time-based dependency mechanism where they had to wait for each other. Or the third option is, of course, to use Airflow. We have integration with Airflow, but Airflow is a pretty big project itself, and it requires a lot of maintenance. There are a lot of companies that are making quite a lot of money just from managed Airflow, like Astronomy or AWS or Google. So this is a cheaper version of dependency management of data jobs. It doesn't have the same UI, UX capabilities as Airflow, but it does provide you with very still dependency management you could do. And if your graphs and dependencies get so complex that you cannot manage them through VDK CLI, then integration therefore will be a next step. But there may be a lot of cases that this is not necessary, so this will be much cheaper. In order to do it, we implemented a new plugin set called VDK MetaJobs in the open source VDK. It's currently submitted for review. It introduced a new interface called Execute MetaJob. It's a Python interface. As part of the hackathon, we also did POC validation with a real complex critical use case inside VMware. Yeah. So basically, the user experience for people using the plugin, they would first need to create the data jobs and deploy them. The plugin assumes that works only with deploy data jobs in the cloud. There they can configure the new meta jobs to start those job execution based on dependencies. Each job can also have a separate schedule, so you can have a meta job, and at the same time the job can be scheduled, and the plugin will handle this. And now let's go and see a demo. So yeah, I'm gonna demonstrate something we've done on the workshop. Basically, the use case is we wanna look at do analysis of correlations between complaints about Yankee candles and COVID raises. There is a correlation where there is a lot of COVID problems and a lot of sick people, and the number of complaints also rise. Until we have done this in a workshop, we had to do it before in a single Uber job. So now we'll see how we can do it with multiple jobs. So what we basically need to do the correlation is we need to ingest the COVID data. We need to ingest the Amazon reviews because the Amazon reviews are based on basically we are scraping web portal and they are really raw format. We need to do some kind of post-processing to get them in a format that we can do the correlation and then calculate the correlation. Okay, let's see how it works. So as I said, you create a meta job the same way you create a normal job. VDK create command and following instructions. Example. I've already pre-created it, so I'm not gonna do this. After the job is created, we can open it. Again, the job should contain only a single meta step .py file, which single step. I mean, you can have multiple steps, of course. If you want, you can have all kinds of steps. You can have other steps that do other kind of logic, like ingesting, transforming. But I would recommend to keep those, separate. And have the meta job with just meta job. And the way we define the dependencies is basically specify all the data jobs that we want to execute. And there are special fields to do this. So it's a basic list of dictionaries. We specify the name of the job called, in this case, ingest COVID data, the team awesome. For each job, we can specify this parameter fail meta job on error. If it's true, if ingest COVID data fails, then the whole meta job will fail and the remaining jobs won't be executed. If it's false, then this will be triggered. This will be considered sort of optional job, and the whole meta job and all the data jobs will be executed and will succeed even if this fails. And finally, we define the dependencies. In our case, we know that the ingest COVID data, ingest COVID data, ingest Amazon review doesn't depend on anything. So we don't have anything depends on. This special field called depends on. We know that the process Amazon reviews depends on ingest Amazon reviews. So we define this. And finally, we know that calculate correlation depends on the results of process Amazon reviews and ingest COVID data. Cool. This then is executed as a Let me increase a bit the font. So this is basically executed as a normal job. You can deploy it as well. Once it's executed, it will start each meta job. You can see it basically starts both ingest COVID data and ingest Amazon reviews in parallel, because both don't have dependencies. It can be started at the same time.
So the run now waits until they both like finishes, and then the next step is going to be executed, the one that is dependency on both. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now it will block, basically wait for both jobs to be executed and finish successfully. If one of them finish with error, it will return an error. Yeah, we can see that right now both jobs finish it. They finish approximately the same time. And now process Amazon review has started. And after this job finishes, finally calculate correlations will start. The plugin page, there's a lot of more documentation which explains how this. With an example, there is also frequently asked questions, which one can see what will happen in the different cases.
Can you link the link in the chat here in the Zoom, so I can later link it in for the YouTube video?
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. And yeah, we saw that our process Amazon reviews has finished successfully, and now calculate correlations is starting. You can check the logs of the job. Those independent jobs. So if there's an error, for example, due to platform reasons, and their retry is configured in the control service, each job will be independently retried, as those are normal jobs. There's nothing special about them, except they're being orchestrated by this meta job. And you can see there is some summary of the jobs that are being started. First, it was COVID data. It was started end time. We can check what version of the code was. Then it was Amazon reviews, process Amazon, and so on. And finally, the meta job succeeded. So this was basically the demo. This was sort of, we did also proof of concept. I've kind of obfuscated the name of the jobs because it was based on the real use case. But the graph looks something like this. It was pretty complex, and we were able to run it successfully. And based on it, we did some kind of impact analysis during the hackathon of the use case, what are basically before and after. There was a clear, the total execution time clearly was reduced more than 2 times because of the increased parallelization of the data jobs. We are also able to reduce the number of failures to 0 due to dependency issues. Basically, before that, because this complex graph, you could have jobs executing out of order. There could be some dependency issues happening, which will cause the jobs to fail. Also, there were no missing or wrong data due to similar reasons. A lot of those data jobs no longer need to be scheduled periodically. So the number of jobs totally being executed could be reduced because now the meta job could handle to schedule the job in the appropriate time after another job is necessary. And as I showed in the example, we no longer need to have these kind of big Uber jobs with complex, which are very hard to investigate, debug, troubleshoot in order to make sure that they execute serially. Instead, we can have small data jobs, which makes their management easier. Yeah, and this is actually the meta job code base. It is currently in a branch. It will be moved to main once it passes reviews. It's approved. Yeah, thank you.
I have two questions. First question is, how did you decide to name it meta jobs? Is it somehow, what is the reason behind it?
Because it's a job managing other jobs, like a meta job. That's why it's called meta job.
And does this make now somehow Airflow integration unnecessary? Maybe because you can do kind of the missing thing, I think, with the Versatile Data Kit.
No, as I mentioned earlier, Airflow is still much more mature and much more UX friendly tool. So if you have kind of extremely complex scenarios, or where you can have situation where you have 100 different jobs being orchestrated in DAGs and hundreds DAGs, database graphs, like 100 meta jobs, and each meta job can orchestrate 100 jobs. In this case, this meta job solution won't really will be very hard to maintain and operate by users. I guess if we in the future have a UI, and the UI we do this kind of, but that will be just doing what Airflow is doing. So for now, I don't think that will be needed. You still want to use Airflow, but Airflow comes with a cost, especially management cost. Airflow is pretty expensive to operate and manage. As explained, Astronomy is a company that makes quite a lot of money just by managing Airflow. While this is, its operational management costs are way too much smaller if you're already using VDK anyhow. So it makes it possible to have much more complex scenarios implemented with VDK using just the meta jobs.
Yeah, basically the idea of this wouldn't be to replace Airflow at all, because I'm sure it doesn't make sense. Actually, it's just to open the gap that we currently have between our use cases and what Airflow provides for us, and maybe to do something in the middle. That doesn't make much sense to integrate Airflow, as Antoni said, on that higher cost. So basically, that's the idea.
Nice. I think the dependencies between jobs is like an important functionality. So yeah, it's cool.
The idea initially was by Gabriel, but he was unfortunately sick during the hackathon, so I was helped out. Cool.
Any other questions?
Yeah, how does it handle failures? Say if the meta job is running and it's processed half the DAG, and then there's like a failure, would it pick up where it left off?
Yeah, it depends. So let me again share my screen. Depends on three things.
Yeah, I think it's really cool as well. That's a good demo of it.
So first, when you're declaring basically your dependencies, you can say for each dependency, for each job that's being orchestrated, fail meta job on error.
I don't mean that the job that it's calling dies, but I mean that the actual meta job, that like obviously it's delegating work to other jobs, but if the actual meta job itself was to die in between during the orchestration, and it had run some of the meta jobs, but it had missed some, and it was
depends.
restarted.
It doesn't keep state. So if the meta job dies, it will, and it's restarted, it will start from the beginning.
Okay, cool.
For example, because it's killed externally.
Okay. Any other questions? If no, then I'm giving word to Monchil.
Right, so it will hopefully be a short demo. So let me just share my screen and let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we see it.
All right, so I just wanted to show you a new small feature, and this is the ability to skip the remaining steps of a data job. And it's used by calling the interface method that we provide, and the method itself is called skip remaining steps. And if I show you this in practice, here I have a data job which has 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, and it's pretty simple. Each step just prints out its name. So step 1 prints step 1, step 2, and step 3. And if I run this job, I can see that all the 3 steps were executed, and the printouts were code. But then if for some reason or another I decide to, skip the last step, I can call this method. And when I execute it, I get a message on the second step that the step was skipped, basically. And reasons to do this, maybe you're reading some data that is not there and you have nothing to process, so you can skip the remaining steps. And it's also, I think, important to note that this skipping functionality can also be used in templates. So as we've discussed in previous meetings, the template is basically a stored data job that can be used by users. And now template writers can now utilize this as well. And it will only skip the remaining steps of the template, but it will not skip the entire data job. So for example, I also have demo template here, which has 2 steps, step 1 and step 2. And now by running the template from the first step of the data job, I should also be able to see that the first template step was executed, but the second one was skipped. So that's about it regarding this feature. If you have any questions, just feel free. If not, we can move on.
I'm a bit. Why does the step that's being where the skip method is called fails? It says failure. Shouldn't it be success and simply the next step should be skipped? It said skipped. Maybe success and it says skipped.
Oh, yeah, right. So I think this is related to the internal working of VDK, and maybe we'll have to look into that and make it more user-friendly. But yeah. I hadn't noticed this actually. Yeah.
The status requested, which is probably okay, but then we have failure, and also you have an exception below. But this is sort of normal work of the job.
Yeah, well, this is just when we're exiting the step, but in the step overview list, it shows it as success. So yeah, maybe we should look into that.
Yeah, let's say if I'm monitoring my jobs, then I will get a failed run, right? In this case.
No, the job itself will terminate successfully, so the exit status will be success. It's just that it's just a message in the logs, which can be confusing. Yes.
Otherwise, yeah, it's a cool feature.
Okay. Any other questions? If no, then yeah. Thank you, Monchil. Okay. Let me know if you see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so finalize actually this meeting. I just wanted to show where we are collecting and storing all the resources that we have about the VDK. And here in Wiki, in community and resources, we have the full list of all the videos, also links to the community meetings, and usually a next upcoming community meeting link. Also blog posts, events, and possibly, give me a second. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so all the upcoming events and upcoming blog posts as well. So the latest blogs that I just wanted to share is the one where we compared, or let's say compared, and also how to say, suggest how to use Versatile Data Kit for the people who are familiar with DBT. So it's a comparison and a practical introduction for VDK into VDK for DBT users, written by Desi from from my team, and yeah, she's comparing, and I think this is a really nice blog post to look into if you are familiar, or actually maybe even if not familiar with DBT. So that's one of them. And the second one is how to create a data formatting plugin with VDK, written by Angelica Loduca. And yeah, she wrote about how to create yeah, this plugin step by step. Her usual tutorials are very easy to read, very comprehensive. She's giving an introduction as well to VDK, and then she's explaining how she's implementing whatever she's doing. It's easy to follow, nice to read as well, and yeah, I think it's a good tutorial of yeah, how to create a plugin and how to use it. So yeah, that is what I wanted to conclude this meeting with. Is there anything to add?
Yeah, Agita, I just wanted to add that generally we know and we have plans to update our documentation, how to build plugins in general. But this blog post that you just showed is actually a great example how to do. So basically working by example. So if somebody would like to build a plugin for VDK, this is an easy way to go, really explaining the best practices of doing this. So yeah, highly recommended to go over this if you're planning to build a plugin for VDK.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for this meeting? Some final words? If not, then thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to publish this video on YouTube, and in the description below there should be also a Slack channel. We have a Slack channel where we usually discuss or answer questions or put some tips and notes, and also further information about community meetings can be found there. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.